Hello friends, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome to another Slimline card video on my YouTube channel. This is using some of the brand new products from Simon Says Stamps Send Happiness release. I will have a release and review video. It's just been one thing after another. So anyway, wanted to get this up first. I am using a couple of the new Wafer dies here. I'm using the ETCHED Peony Blossom Wafer die, that's the big one. And then I have the ETCHED Flower Buds. And I die cut these from some Tim Holtz Distress watercolor paper. And then I'm just leaving them in the paper. Just kind of help me hold things in place while I color them. You can color them with anything, or you could die cut them from just color cardstock. Keep it simple. You could color them with Copics, all that fun stuff. But I went with watercolor because I'm just loving watercolor. And I'm using my Prima Tropicals palette this time. I've been using like the Classics palette and the pastel one all the time. So this time I wanted something more intense, that peony color, which is in this palette. It's like that perfect peony color. So that's what I'm using. And my first layer, super messy, really easy. All of this is really going to be quite messy because that's the other thing I love, is just messy watercoloring. Trying not to think too hard about it, trying not to be too perfect with it. So I just kept going in. I did my first, layer on all of the blooms with a little more water, a little less color, and then I just kept adding more layers with less water, more color. And then after I would apply, that first intense bit of color, I would go back in with the brush being cleaned off a little bit more and move the color around and that sort of thing. So I did this a few times, just kind of build it up on all of these die cut images. And the fun thing with this is because they're die cut and all that etching detail that die cuts into it, it'll absorb the water and the color a little bit differently. So you get all that texture as well, which is just fun. So did all that. I did the flower center with like the yellow and the brown from the palette, and then the stems on these etched flower buds with a couple of the greens. And then once I was kind of happy with the way everything was looking, I am of course going to add splatter. So I have Ranger's Perfect Pearl powder here in a mini mister. You can do this either way. I've shown this in multiple videos. Sometimes I'll just scoop out a bit of the powder and mix it with water, like right on my craft mat or on a palette or whatever. I gotta say, I do prefer having it in the mini mister bottle with water already, because then it's just ready to go. You just gotta shake it up. And then I'll either use the little tube, like for the nozzle, and use that to splatter. But what I'm really enjoying is just dipping my brush right into it. It gives me a little bit more control and a little bit finer of a splatter. So I splattered these heavily, very heavily. So they've got that nice little shimmer to them. And then let everything dry, and then pop them out of the cardstock. And I'm going to set these aside, and now I'm going to work on my background. So for my background, I have some soft navy cardstock, and I have the new In the Round stencil. And obviously the stencil is 6x6, and my card base is going to be Slimline, so 3.5 by 8.5. So a stencil like this is nice because I can be a little bit more, loose with it. I'm not gonna worry about trying to like line things up or anything like that. I'm also gonna do almost like tone on tone in a sense. So I'm using the soft navy cardstock, and then I have chipped sapphire distress oxide ink. So it's very subtle, but that's exactly what I want. I didn't want a super busy background, tons of texture, different like variations in color, anything like that. So I applied the oxide ink over the stencil, and then I just moved the stencil to the upper portion of the card, and I'm just going to repeat the process. And I was taping it into place with just some purple thermal web purple tape. This tape is really good for stencils and just everything because it's just very low tack, so it's not very sticky. So applied the Distress Oxide ink over the stencil, and then I was going to leave it here, but then I started thinking, and you guys know me in the bling. So in the July 2020 card kit, I already did a video using this, but it comes with this cosmic shimmer called Opal Blaze Polish, and this is like the gilded avocado. So in the jar, it looks very like white shimmery, but it has like a green iridescence to it. You can apply this with your fingers. In my other video, I used just my little water brush. This time I'm using just one of the Distress blending foams, and I'm just lightly tapping the blending foam in this Cosmic Shimmer polish, and then lightly tapping it over the stencil. Again, not applying a thick layer. I'm not filling the whole stencil. I'm just kind of tapping it here and there. So I get the shape of the dots somewhat, but it's the shimmer I really wanted. And I really, really like this. So far, this is my favorite way of applying it, is using the blending foam like that. So because I was enjoying it so much, I have one more die cut that I wanted to use. This is the Leafy Branch, and I die cut it from white cardstock. I was going to use it just as is with the white cardstock, but I wanted to add some shimmer to it too. So same thing. And this time I'm working on just my little craft mat to keep this from getting all over. The product is kind of like, when I go to wipe it out, it's almost sticky in a sense, but I don't notice it on cardstock. Like, it doesn't feel sticky. Like, it dries and it's fine. So I covered that die cut with it, set that aside to dry. I just got to readjust my chair here. And then I pulled out, this is one of the new envelopes. This release I'm so excited about. There are Slimline envelopes in this release, and so of course I had to decorate a matching envelope. So these fabulous soft navy envelopes. So I'm just doing the exact same thing as I did to the background, using the In the Round stencil and the chip sapphire distress oxide ink, moving the stencil around. And then after applying the oxide ink, I'm going to use that Opal shimmer polish again with the blending foam and just kind of dabbing it here and there. So I'm going to have this pretty, not totally crazy envelope. So got that all coated to match the background of the card, and then set that aside, working on my card base. So my card base is Nina Desert Storm 100-pound cardstock, and I cut this down to 7 inches. So it's 7 by 8.5. And then I am scoring it at 3.5 with my Teflon bone folder and my little score buddy. So this will be a 3.5 by 8.5 inch slimline card. So after I had that done, now I can start sort of assembling and getting everything ready to go here. So my soft navy background, I had already cut it down before I did any of the blending or anything. So it's a little bit smaller than the card base. It's around like 3.25 by 8.25. So I've got that, and then I'm going to start adhering all of these like die cut flowers and leaves and all this stuff. So I'm using a combination of some just thin 3D foam squares and a little bit of craft tacky glue. I wanted to use the foam squares just to pop up these blooms, give it that little extra bit of dimension. So I'm going to start popping these into place. The Leafy Branch, I'm just going to adhere the bottom portion because it's going to be hidden by this big peony. So adhere that into place with the craft tacky adhesive. And then I popped a few more foam squares on the back of this big peony and then popped that into place. And then the sentiments are from the new Reverse Happy sentiment strip pack. Simon has a ton of these now, all these different themes and occasions and phrases, etc., that are already pre-printed. And the reversed ones are printed, they're printed on white cardstock with a black background. So you get just that reverse look. And I've shown this in other videos, but after trimming them, because they're white cardstock, the white cardstock's exposed, and sometimes they don't look as finished. So I just edge all of that after I've trimmed them out the sentiments I want. I just edge that with my Memento Tuxedo black marker. Any black marker is going to work for this. But I just run it along the edge of all of these pieces, and that way it coats that white cardstock with the black marker and just makes everything look that little extra bit of, finished, polished perfection, whatever. So I edged the sentiments I'm using on the front, and then I'm going to use sentiments on the inside of the card as well. So I just edged those all at once. And then sentiments for the front, I'm popping up with those same little thin 3D foam squares. And then the second set of blooms that I had watercolored, I'm going to put on the inside of the card just to finish it all off. So I adhered those into place, adhered the sentiment strips, and then the card front I adhered with the craft tacky glue. And then as a final bit of embellishment and bling, I'm using the Strawberry Shortcake Sequins mix. This came out in a previous release, and I don't even put it away. It just sits on my desk because I reach for these so often. I love the colors, and they went perfectly with this. So I pulled those out and kind of sprinkled these throughout my card front here. And then once I was happy with it, I'm going to adhere these into place with dabs of craft tacky glue, just picking them up with my embellishment wand and pressing them into place. Once that's done, this card is complete. So like I mentioned, this is part of a new release. I will have a link to the new release. I will have links to everything I used in the description box below the video, as well as on my blog. Stay tuned. I will have a release and review video coming. I'm going to have more card videos coming. I'm just trying to keep up with the editing and just the craziness of everything. So anywho, turn the flashlight on my phone so you guys can get a better idea. Just the shimmer and the sparkle from that Cosmic Shimmer polish and the perfect pearl splatter and all that fun stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching, for subscribing, thumbs upping, commenting, all that stuff. I really appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, these envelopes are self-adhering, like the flaps. Love that. It's such a silly little thing, but I absolutely love it. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, subscribing, thumbs upping, commenting, all of it. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.